So, but yeah, we really like it. So, but
is he the reason you kept on getting distracted from the NHRA Mile High Nationals this weekend?
Yeah, it was him, and I was editing at the same time. So there was two things going on. Like I was editing and watching it at the same time, which was good. But then I would forget to like write down notes. So then I'd have to like rewind it and write down who had gone through or what was happening because I was distracted editing. And then when that wasn't happening, he was waking up, and I was like trying to get him situated and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a good race. I ended up not finishing it last night. I had to finish it this morning because of everything going on. Welcome to Delta Time Overtime Edition. We're going to talk about the Mile High Nationals, the last time they'll be there, unfortunately. It'll be the second course to be closed this year. We'll talk about that, what the future of the sport looks like, and then we'll also talk about the Formula E in Rome, as well as the silly season that's already started with Nick Vries and Danny Rick. So we'll see what happens with them. He's coming for the Hungaroring, and we can't wait. Yeah, I was super happy with the end result. I mean, you ended up with Clay Milliken and the drags coming in first. Hagen got a good win after winning last week too. Yep. And then you got Gage coming back to form. I mean, I'm a little bit bummed that he won on a red light because Angie just got a little bit overzealous or was a little intimidated by the.
She did really good though.
She did.
That point.
She did that, and that's why I'm frustrated.
Had some really good reaction times too.
And that's why I was just like, dude, like there could have been a really good drag race there, but it ended.
But even with the red light, he still ended at a faster speed and still would have beat him.
I mean, there's something to be said for that Vance and Hines team. Like, they're the first, like, that brother team or duo or whatever, friend duo, I can't remember. I think they're brothers, but they're the first to really adopt the true analytics way. And it pays off to no end. And, I mean, this one now, like, the true cheat code that they have is because Gage is so small. Like, honestly, it's legitimately a jockey situation right now. They're able to put the weight. He's
got the reaction time.
Yeah, he's small. He's got the reaction time.
For a rookie, he's killing it, dude.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were literally, when they did the segment on him, if I like lost 2 weeks in a row or 2 races in a row, and they're like, he's doing really well for us to do a segment about him losing 2 weeks in a row. Yeah. Because it's strange.
Yeah. Yes. As a rookie.
Yeah, as a rookie. So, yeah, I thought that was cool. Hagen. Tony Stewart Racing, I'm not a huge fan of, but I mean, I'm glad to see them being more competitive now. They were just shit in the bed there for a while, and it sucks seeing Leah go out first round on a whole shot, especially when she had won 2 years prior at that location, and, she just was coming off a win last week.
Yeah, she lost to Hart, right?
Yeah, Josh Hart, yeah. And then he ended up losing to Doug Coletta, who went on to win it.
Well, I mean,
sorry, he lost to Clay. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yes. Wait. Yeah. Coletta.
Yeah, Doug Coletta advanced to the finals, but he lost to Clay. Yeah, Milliken.
Sorry, I don't have their first names written down.
Sorry, yeah. No, you're good. I flip flop between them as I'm like shorthanding it. So
yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, I think the biggest loss for Leah, talking about that, is that because this is the last time this track's going to be on the schedule. Unfortunately, and it's a massive, like, it's a big historical track for NHRA.
Yeah, I mean, it's the second one this year, right? In Arizona, right here in our backyard. That was their last time here, and to find out that there's a second track that's gonna not be, hosting a race anymore is it's kind of crazy. I'm interested to see, like, is it just because we're going to track racing and IndyCar and F1 are going to be the priority for our country, or is it going to morph? Is it going to do we see new locations in those similar areas? Like, are we going to have another Mile High just in a different area? Are we going to have a new Arizona Nationals, but just somewhere else in Arizona?
So for Mile High Nationals, I did look that up. The owners of Mile High, Bandimere, they are looking for a new location right now, but they've had a few things fall through. So it's looking like it might not be a possibility, but it's still somewhat a possibility.
Okay.
But basically, they have like suburbs being built close by, so they can't. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to move in next to a racetrack.
Yeah. No, I mean Unfortunately, that is a problem, and that's one of the biggest issues you're going to have with something like that. Is it's truly a niche thing, and if you don't have the buy-in from the community, you're never going to be able to sustain long term.
Yeah,
unless you're in the middle of nowhere.
I think that the drag racing in general is somewhat dying out. I mean, look at the average age of everyone that's behind that wheel.
Yeah. They're trying to get younger, but I don't see it happening. I think the younger ones are going to get into other niche motorsport. I think they're more interested in like MotoGP and that kind of stuff, or Formula One. Again, I think it comes down to track racing. I think straight line, reaction time type stuff is just falling to the wayside, just because I don't. Yeah, it just is. It's an odd thing. Like, it's a cool event, and I'm a fan of it. Don't get me wrong, but it just the amount of guess and check versus specific calculations that determine how your car is going to perform is a little bit different, I guess, in drag racing than I would say the other motorsports.
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, but it's I don't know. It's like apples to oranges, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like drag racing, there's not as much engineering as far as like body wise and aerodynamics as much.
Right.
But definitely like the engine and the tuning and all of that other stuff that goes into it. Like, there's still a ton of art to it.
Yeah.
From that extent.
No, I totally agree. And that's just it. But I don't think it has the, I don't know. It doesn't
have the draw.
It doesn't have the draw, and it doesn't have like the showmanship. Like, there's only so much that you can dress up with the drag racing, and they've even tried doing it with the Too Fast Too Tasty competition, and even that is just, you're still kind of pulling at straws, drawing at straws. And I get it, and it makes sense because you're making the guys from the previous week a factor during qualifying, but at the same time, what are you actually getting out of it? What does it justify itself? Like, nothing really comes of it other than some extra points for the overall driver championship.
Right. But do you think if they had like a drag version of Drive to Survive, that could possibly bring it back?
Yeah, I think that tactic is going to be the number one way of getting people involved in what would be perceived as less entertaining sports to like the general public. I mean, the Top Spin, the one that they did on golf, it's literally the Drive to Survive guys, or it's either Full Spin or Full Swing or something like that. But I mean, that took off and everyone was super excited about. They did 100 Days to Indy. I mean, they're literally using that kind of format as a way to essentially prep for an event. So like, it primes everyone's pump before the event actually happens. Because I think it was basically the last episode of 100 Days to Indy, or the second to last episode of 100 Days to Indy, aired the week before the Indianapolis 500, and then the next one was the Indianapolis 500 that you would see from their perspective, and then that's the show is over, which is cool. I think that's even better than Drive to Survive to an extent, because they're literally filming during it's like Hard Knocks. Like, they're essentially taking the Hard Knocks route of like filming during season and like literally having like a week turnaround on their production, which is freaking impressive. And so, but anyways, that I think that definitely is something that could help.
Yeah. Do you think any other sports like that are fading away might end up going that route as well eventually? Or like, I don't even know if NHRA even has like the money to put into a production like that right now.
I think it would have to come from the individual ownership. I think that's the key, and I think it kind of goes to your point earlier of like the demographic of who's in it. I mean, you used to have a lot of different owners. So you had Don Garlants, who, he was a big one who had multiple cars, but you didn't have these 3 and 4 car teams owned by one person. I mean, John Force has 2 dragsters and 2 funny cars. Doug Coletta has, I think, 2 dragsters and a funny car. Tony Stewart has a dragster and a funny car. yeah, I mean, Mike Salinas has dragster and pro stock bike. So yeah, it's just you have less guys, you have more owners that are drivers, and you have more owners that are drivers that have multiple cars and drivers.
So NHRA's turned more into like a club.
Yes.
Than
I mean, it always has been. I mean, that's essentially what it is. National Hot Rod Association, like it's essentially a club.
But I mean, it's they've made themselves small.
Yes, they've made themselves small. They don't have any kind of true like corporate sponsorship, and like the ones that used to be the big boys like Napa and stuff like that, they're still there, but now they're owned by Ron Capps. Your camera went a little blurry there, man. Yeah. But yeah, Ron Capps now owns the Napa car. Now they're essentially sponsorship. They don't own the car anymore. He owns the car himself. So I mean, it's cool to see drivers like get to that point where they own their own vehicle, but then it also shows that you don't have a lot. I mean, you don't have a Red Bull Oracle type full sponsorship where you have an entire like powertrain team like throwing money. I mean, the closest you have is like the Toyota, the GR Supra, like basically that partnership with all of those guys, like that's the equivalent of what you're looking at, but it's still not the same as like you would have with a IndyCar team or F1 team.
So with that sport dying,
yeah,
I think that brings us into Formula E.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect example of like a modern day race club in and of itself. I mean, it's kind of separate from F1, but after really watching a weekend of it, I see why. I see why someone like Nick de Vries, which we'll get into a little bit later, is not performing as well in F1 when he performed very well in Formula E to where he won the championship. But it was just very, I don't know, you kind of touched on it a little bit in our chat, but what were your thoughts?
So, I mean, let's do the rundown real quick. So, for the Formula E race was in Rome this weekend. It's 19-turn street circuit. It's a 19-turn street circuit that is just over 3 kilometers, about 2.1 miles. They did 24 laps for a total distance of about 50 miles, and which equates to about 81 kilometers. Mm-hmm. There was an accident early on between Mitch Evans and Cassidy, which resulted in a 2-lap yellow flag. Mitch Evans DNF'd. Cassidy continued on, and he came back. He made a pretty good recovery run from the back to about 10th, and then finished 14th. During the race, though, Nato with Team Nissan, he got his front wing clipped, but he was able to finish the race in second. The final podium was Jake Dennis with Avalanche Andretti team in first place, and then Norman Nato with Nissan second, Sam Bird third, Eduardo Mortara with Maserati fourth, and Sebastian Buemi with Envision fifth.
How did Porsche do?
I don't think very good.
Yeah, I know that I saw them spin out at one point, so I was curious if they were able to recover. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, there was 2 like pretty crazy accidents.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, there was one accident, and then there was only the one accident where Mitch Evans he slid sideways. It was Jaguar though, not Porsche.
Oh, okay.
He slid sideways and he went up over Cassidy, but he had too much damage. Cassidy was able to finish though.
Oh, okay.
Porsche though, I'm not seeing a team Porsche unless I go by a different. Oh, there it is. Tag Heuer.
Yeah.
However you say that. So they came in.
Like you say it
was the highest up.
You say it as expensive ass watch. That's how you say it.
Okay, well, expensive ass watch Porsche team.
Yeah.
With Pascal Verlin came in 7th.
Nice.
So I think that's in the points for them. But, man, I was expecting more from it. I think. I think there's a little bit of to be said for expectations coming from like experiencing F1 to that.
Yeah.
I feel like if I had never experienced F1, I would probably think Formula E was cool.
Yeah.
But just the first opening lap was super underwhelming for me. Like, lights out, and it was just like, are they gonna go? Like,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of that, like just that kind of stuff. It reminded me a lot of Octane Raceway. Really, it was just like it's go-karts on steroids.
Yeah.
There's kind of a lot of like weird gamification stuff I don't like. Like on the cars, on the front of the cars, they have these LED strips, and I guess they change color depending on what mode the driver's in. So if they get into attack mode, it changes color or something. I mean, it's too like, I don't know, not for my generation. Like we grew up with combustion engines and
well, it's almost they're making it to where you can
like,
defend. You're making it so the guy in front can defend easier by understanding that they're coming for them, so that they can. Whereas in F1, they just assume that the guy is using his battery behind them when they're not within DRS, so they have to plan accordingly to be able to get away from them. So yeah, I agree. I mean, I like it, and I think I like the idea of it, but the more I watched it, the more I'm just like, there's less risk, there's less, kind of everything. It just, the cars are so light that when they lock up their tires, like they don't even scrub out their tires. Like they're
not even on slicks.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it was just so weird to watch and just be like, okay, so if these guys go hauling ass into a corner and they lock all four wheels, like that doesn't mean anything. They still were able to go on to have a good like lap and stuff. So I just feel like there's a lot of racing factors in F1 that I think aren't as significant in Formula E that I think takes away from it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did the math. So I took the fastest lap, which was by Dennis on Team Andretti, Avalanche Andretti. His fastest lap was 140-ish.
Yeah.
So if you do the math, it comes out to an average speed of about 75.6 miles per hour, or 121, just over 121 kilometers per hour average.
Nice.
That's for the fastest lap, though. So they're driving slower than 75 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, but they have really fast acceleration. That's supposed to be the cool thing about him. But yeah, I don't know. They got a long ways to go.
Let me watch that Lights Out again, and then tell me it's fast.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I found myself just thinking I'm more interested in watching the F1 Academy and F2 and 3 before I would probably entertain Formula E again, to be honest.
I mean, it's definitely like an acquired taste, like I think I told you. And I think it has a lot to do with like perception and expectations. So I mean, if you manage your expectations, it could be interesting. It could be something, but I'm also not invested in any of the drivers or teams also.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. The only thing I took away from it that I thought would be kind of interesting to add to F1 would be, in order to get the point for fastest lap, you have to finish in the top 10.
Oh, for Formula E?
Yeah. So, like, I don't know, if Checo was in last place and they wanted him to get fastest lap for an extra point, he wouldn't be able to get it unless he was in the top 10.
Yeah, he can't. They can't do that.
That's the rule in Formula 1 too?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you're outside the top 10, like you can get the fastest lap, but it won't give you a point.
Got it.
It just takes a point away from someone who's in the top 10. So that's sometimes what people do if they are outside and they're just like, fuck it, I have nothing else to lose. Let's take a point away from somebody, Especially if it's like, say, Red Bull was like knocked down to whatever and like Mercedes was up there and they want every point counts. Like, yeah, they're gonna put Checo or Max on softs and get a fastest lap in 15th place and just take that 1 point away.
All right, well, screw it. Now you guys know how much of a noob I am.
Yeah, but no, that's a good rule though. I mean, it's a good point. I mean, that's just it. But I don't know. I don't think that Formula E is going to be able to be a field that you go to when you're trying to, get drivers in silly season. That's just not. I think especially with Nick de Vries's failure at Alpha Tauri, I think that unfortunately is probably going to cause a little bit of a setback of people transitioning from Formula E into Formula One directly.
So since I'm such a noob, explain to me what silly season is, Jeff.
So
for anybody else that's also new to F1.
yeah, so silly season is essentially just the off season of F1. Technically, is usually the off season of the F1 like calendar.
Also
so,
known as summer break.
Yes, summer, and then winter break too, because you have when they come to test in March at Barcelona. That's what they're trying to get geared up for. But the summer break is when it really can kick off, because that's when you have the extended time for people to have conversations and things like that, and drivers are technically allowed to do that. So but in a really nutshell, silly season is just when all the chaos happens, where you have rumors of drivers going to different places and who's going to be sitting where. Basically all of the number 2 seats and all of the at minimum all of the number 2 seats in any of the constructors is potentially at risk, even number 1 in some of the lower tier teams. I mean, you had a year where Haas literally cleaned house, and the year that they brought in Mick Schumacher and oh my gosh, I can't remember what's his name, the Russian guy, when they brought him in, those two guys
Raikkonen?
in. What was that?
Is Raikkonen Russian?
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he's
I think I know who you're
Swiss.
talking about, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't. Mazepin. Yeah,
Okay.
Mazepin. So when they brought those two on, they had let go of Roman Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen. So they literally cleaned house. But usually it's only one. So in your standard, places, you got Nick De Vries, who would be on the bubble, Oscar Piastri, but he's doing well, so he's not. So McLaren technically is set, except for Lando. Lando's so good that he could get swooped up by someone else, like Ferrari or Mercedes, or a Red Bull. So there's already rumors right now that Lando just started following the Red Bull team on social media, and before that he only followed McLaren. So yeah, but then there's also rumors that there's a contract that's already been like halfway drawn up in Ferrari for him, because that could be something, because Carlos Sainz could go somewhere, because he's definitely a little bit more of a outspoken person, and Ferrari doesn't necessarily like outspoken people. So sorry, I'm getting away from the general concept of silly season though.
I get it though. So this season is the media goes crazy. Everyone comes out of the woodwork, just making rumors and making shit up, being silly. About what's gonna happen in the future.
Exactly.
And we don't know until the contracts are black and white. So
yeah, it's like, have you seen the movie Men in Black?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like that
It's been
part.
a while.
Yeah. Well, Men in Black or the Kingsman, when they basically talk about how the tabloids, they seem like these crazy, outlandish titles or things that have happened, but those are probably the most accurate, you know what I mean? So like there are ones that like you're just like, no fucking way, but like that's gonna be the one that happens. I mean, yeah, that's just it. I mean, no one saw the Oscar Piastri thing happening last year, where Alpine's like, yeah, and Oscar is gonna be racing for us, and he's like, fuck no, I'm not, and he goes over to McLaren. Like that's what you're looking at. So
up until let's talk about Norris first.
Yeah.
Do you think that this last race, how well he did in this last race, is what's determining what's happening right now with the silly season with him?
Yeah.
Like this last race was like the like, holy crap, he does have actual like talent. Like
I don't know the actual talent part, but I think it's more of like, oh shit, like we just need to get him a car and we could get some major points. You know what I mean? I think it's always been that Lando's been good, because him and Sainz have been, kind of connected the whole time. I mean, especially when Sainz was at McLaren, like, I mean, they always were swapping back and forth between the two of them. So like, I would think that aside from a Red Bull, like Max Lando partnership, I honestly think, like, sorry, no offense to Leclerc, but like, I would think that it would be Leclerc and Sainz that would be the best duo for Ferrari from a standpoint of like innovating and driving forward. Leclerc is too much of a company man, is too willing to like go with the flow. If he was more pushbacky and more consistent in his lap times, I would say it would be him and Lando.
I heard today that Sainz and Leclerc's contracts end in the same year for Ferrari.
Yeah, they do. So that will be interesting because that's literally what's going to happen.
I think Leclerc's going to get mad enough one of these days.
I hope he does because he's got the raw talent. So that's my whole thing. Is it's not that I don't think he can do it or can't do it. It's just at times he just seems too nice. He just seems like he just lets them fuck up, and it'll be long. He might have more longevity there because he's a company man, but I don't know that it'll translate to championships.
He has the talent, he has the car. They just don't have the freaking team.
Yeah, so
that's what it is. But silly season, De Vries, Ricciardo.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, P1, Matt P1 Tommy. I mean, he called it back in February when they were like doing their initial predictions of like what crazy thing could happen, and he said it. He was like, I think De Vries could lose his seat, if he doesn't come out and perform right out the gate. Red Bull is not going to, and Franz Tost, like, he doesn't care. He doesn't give a fuck. And especially since Nick didn't come from the Red Bull, like, driving school, he cares even less. And to have Ricciardo make the improvements that he's made, in the sim, and seeing the times that he was doing in that testing series, I mean, it seems like it was a no-brainer for them. I mean, if they could get someone that can come in and help them improve the Alpha Tauri before they make that official switch to being their own, constructor apart from Red Bull, I think it would behoove him immensely within his career as an F1 driver.
Well, Tsunoda's in his third year. This is his third season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is he still considered a rookie at this point? Ish?
No, Tsunoda, this was the year that Tsunoda needed to perform or else kind of a thing, and he has been. And that's also what's highlighted Nick not doing well, is that Tsunoda's just been kicking his ass every race. So, yeah.
So how do you think Ricciardo's going to finish further up the grid than Tsunoda then? Or do you think there's going to be a learning curve with the car?
I think there may be a learning curve, but I would not be surprised if he outperforms Tsunoda right out the gate. Like, my initial thought would be is that he's going to have a learning curve, and it may be Tsunoda then Ricciardo. Like, I feel like they'll be right behind, like, he'll be right behind him. I don't think there's gonna be multiple places, but I think that ultimately he'll be too slow to be able to make team orders be in his favor, if that makes sense.
But also because he's a vet, he'll be able to give better feedback on the car to the team than Tsunoda or
Exactly. He's the Fernando Alonso of Alpha Tauri right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that's my thought. And I mean, he, Alpha Tauri is, they're notorious for changing their drivers. I mean, they've been through 4 different drivers in the last 7 years. So, like, they've had 4 different driver changes in the last 7 years, which is a lot. So
why would someone want to sign with them then?
Because
just to
this
get into Formula One, to prove something.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're a sister team, like, that's the thing right now, is like Daniel wants to use this as his opportunity to prove that he's ready for the Red Bull seat. So when Checo continues to fuck up, hypothetically, I'm not saying he will, but I'm just saying in Ricciardo's mind, when he continues to mess up, like, that's his seat for the taking. I mean, he already leapfrogged Liam Lawson. So who's to say he can't leapfrog Tsunoda? Because that the original plan was Tsunoda to ultimately graduate into the Red Bull seat because that was the partnership with Honda.
Yeah, but I mean, Ricciardo's got the freaking time, the tenure.
Yeah.
In Formula One, so
yeah.
Is it leapfrogging at that point?
No, but it is because of the new age of Formula One, because now the whole theme is get young guys in there. Like, you don't put 2 young guys in there, but you have a vet and then you have a young guy. And, like, at this point, Verstappen is a vet, so you would ideally be thinking you would want a new guy. You don't want another wily vet unless you're trying to do something else that I'm not thinking of. At least that's where my brain goes.
I mean, 2 vets or a vet and a young guy.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if
no,
you
I
wanna
agree.
win.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and Haas proved that the two rookie technique is not one to go for, because they did terribly that year.
I mean, that's kind of what Alpha Tauri's been doing, though, too,
Yeah.
to an extent.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and they lost Pierre. That's the real thing, is like they lost Pierre. They ideally would have had Pierre and Tsunoda continue until they were ready to promote Tsunoda, in my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was cool that, and also the whole thing with Nick DeVries coming into it was like they pretty much picked him because what was it, Colton Herter? Colton Herter wasn't able to race for Red Bull because his super license he didn't have enough points in his super license. Same kind of thing as what was happening with Logan Sargent at the end of the year. So like that
kind of like, all right, we'll take you.
Yeah. They lost out on Piastri. They lost out on Piastri. Who's the other one? Logan Sargent. And then what was the other one? They couldn't bring back Ricciardo. Ricciardo wasn't going to race for Alpha Tauri, so that's why they made him a test driver. So yeah, it was definitely a knee-jerk decision. And I mean, I don't think Franz was very.
I don't think it was knee-jerk. I mean, I was looking at the stats, and he's on par with Sargent-ish.
Yeah.
His rookie year is, I mean, compared to Tsunoda, his rookie year is way worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
no,
Nick was definitely not. He was 20th in the constructors right now.
Yeah, I mean, when I say knee jerk, I mean knee jerk for how calculated they are as a team. You know what I mean? It was more of a impulse than they would have liked, I think, if they're honest with themselves.
How much of it do you think was sending a message to Checo?
I don't think any of it was. I think at that point they still were in a good place because Checo was performing well. So I think aside from just like the kind of grumbling back and forth because they both want to win. We're
talking about the De Vries to Ricciardo.
Oh, yeah. I think that definitely for sure. Yeah, I think they're trying to motivate Checo too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a dual purpose. I think we can get performance and feedback on the Alpha Tauri car, and also like we can try and light a fire under Checo, because Checo is not, it's almost like he determined that I'm not going to win the championship anyway, so like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of the drivers are kind of like that right now, besides like Alonso maybe.
There's still money to be had for second and third and fourth, that's what I'm saying. Like there still should
all
be.
I hear is freaking bitching from Hamilton. Like everyone's just whining about freaking Red Bull, and it's just like, bro, like be better than.
Pooh is Hamilton.
Yeah, Pooh is Hamilton.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, but I don't, whatever. I'm happy to see Danny getting another chance, and like I know he needed the time away, and like, but it was cool to hear him like in his interview on F1, the F1 YouTube channel, of just like he came to the United States for the Super Bowl, and like being there for that and feeling that competition was like kind of what helped him like be like, yeah, I still want, like, I still got it. Like, I still have that fire. And then he said it was Monaco this year that, like, really made him be like, I want to be in the seat, kind of a thing. So
how
he
old
seems, he's my age. I think he's 33, 34.
How old is Alonso?
Alonso, 45, 40 something. Yeah.
Ricciardo's still got time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the thing, is I think it's really cool. I think it's, time away is needed, and showing that Alonso can be as successful as he is, like that's also a proof of concept for Danny Rick, so that's cool. So I'm excited. I can't wait for the Hungaroring coming up, and that'll be really fun to watch. So we'll see how they all do.
Yeah, we got some Red Bull upgrades that are coming up, and we'll discuss those next weekend.
Yeah, we can talk about that in the predictions show.
Yeah, we can talk about that then.
Cool. Sweet. Well, as always, like, subscribe, leave us a comment, let us know what we can do. If there's anything we missed, any corrections to the unfact-checked things we have.
Especially with this noob.
Yeah, we don't know what we're talking about. We're just two idiots. But anyways, have a good one, and as always, see you next time. Peace.
Take care, everybody.